Hey guys, this is Ben. Welcome back to Box Office with Ben, where I break down the weekly box office numbers. This weekend we had the release of Brad Pitt's newest film, Bullet Train. So how did it perform? Was it a success? Was it a disappointment? Let's get into it. So yes, Bullet Train, the newest film by Brad Pitt and David Leitch, opened to #1 at the box office with around $30.1 million. For being a non-franchise action film, this is a decent opening, but when you consider that we have Brad Pitt starring here, we got a stacked cast, an insane marketing campaign from Sony. I saw trailers for this thing everywhere. I think that this is still a bit of a soft opening for the film. This is about on par with The Lost City earlier this year, which I think is kind of a comparable film. They're both non-IP action-adventure films, Brad Pitt starring in both of them. And that opened to about $30 million as well. That movie ended up doing pretty well. It made upwards of $200 million, but that's because it held really well week after week. So will Bullet Train share that same fate? Will it hold very well? I'm not too sure. It has a budget of around $90 million, so it's going to need to hold very well if it's going to justify that budget. When you compare to the past couple films that David Leitch did, it's definitely a far cry from those franchise films. You have Deadpool 2, you have Hobbs and Shaw, which opened with around $125 million and $60 million respectively. Obviously those are franchise films, so Bullet Train wasn't going to be on the same level. And interestingly, when you look at Brad Pitt's most recent openings, this is also one of the highest for him in a little while, aside from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which opened to around $40 million. Allied opened to only $12 million. Ad Astra opened to only about 20. He isn't pulling in big numbers consistently as you may think, considering the big star that he is. I found that interesting. So yeah, I think that the fate of this film, the overall success of this film, will depend on how well it holds in the coming weeks. If it holds really, really well at the box office, if it rules the whole month of August, if we see 40% drop, 30% drops, it could definitely make a profit. It could make back its budget. But at this point, I just don't think that's going to happen. It's an R-rated action film with only a B+ cinema score. So I don't know how well it's going to hold in the coming weeks. I think it will hold decently considering that there's not a lot of competition in the month of August, but I don't think it's going to be a big success at the end of the day. All right, at #2, we had DC League of Super Pets, which opened last weekend to a disappointing $20-something million. This weekend, it dropped 51.3% to make another $11.2 million. This film isn't doing super well. I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought this film would have been doing much better considering it's a superhero pets movie for families. I thought that this was going to be like a pretty easy hit, a pretty easy cash grab. So yeah, it's not doing too great. It's up to only $83 million worldwide against a budget of $90 million. This thing isn't going to be super profitable, if at all. So I don't know. I think this was a bit of a misfire from DC. I thought this was going to be a success, but it has proven to be a little bit of a disappointment. As for why this film has been a disappointment, I think it largely comes down to the marketing. I don't think that the marketing really made people want to see this movie. And then the reception from audiences has been good, but not fantastic. And I don't think a lot of people are running out telling their friends to go see this movie. I guess families weren't super intrigued. And then at #3, we have Nope, which dropped another 54.3% this weekend. This is holding fairly well. I think this is a very solid hold for this film. And though it's not blowing up, it's doing respectable numbers. It's at about $100 million domestically. So under Jordan Peele's other recent films, which both hit around $175 million domestically, but still doing pretty well. Again, this had a production budget of around $68 million. So I'm curious to see how it continues to hold, what its worldwide gross is going to be, because that I think is largely going to determine if this film is a success or not. Will it be able to make back its production budget at the end of the day? I think it will be able to, but I don't think it's going to be insanely profitable like Us or Get Out were. But, you know, Jordan Peele is still bringing people to the theaters. I don't think this film would have been doing as well as it is if it weren't for Jordan Peele's name being attached to it. I think he's bringing a lot of people out. #4, we have Thor: Love and Thunder, which dropped another 42.3%, making another $7.6 million. The big story with Thor this weekend is that it has passed Thor Ragnarok domestically. It's still pretty far away from Thor Ragnarok's total gross worldwide, but it has passed Ragnarok domestically, which I find pretty interesting. I think that if it was a better film, if audiences liked it more, it would have passed Ragnarok easily. I don't think that would have been a question, but it was looking kind of iffy if it was going to be able to pass Ragnarok domestically after it wasn't super well received and didn't open huge. But it managed to do it, though it's only at around $700 million worldwide in comparison to Ragnarok, which got up to about $850 million. So it's not going to reach Ragnarok's worldwide haul, but it did manage to pass it domestically. Interesting that the worldwide audience isn't liking Love and Thunder as much. At number 5, we got Minions 2, which dropped another 35.1%. This is at around $750 million worldwide at this point. Again, this is a far cry from the first Minions film, which somehow made like $1.1 billion, which is absolutely insane. But still, $750 million is a super impressive number. Universal's super happy with this number for sure. You know, full steam ahead on Minions 3 and Despicable Me 4. I guarantee those are in the works. This is a film that proves that families are still willing to go and see these animated films at the theaters, which is something that people were doubting after the unfortunate failure that was Lightyear. As for the rest of the top 10, Easter Sunday, the new comedy film starring Joe Coy, was also a new release this weekend, but only managed to open at number 8 at the box office with $5.2 million. This is not a good opening by any means, but not a disaster when you consider that it had a budget of only around $17 million. This film was not super well received by critics or audiences, so it's not super surprising. Top Gun Maverick finally dropped out of the top 5, but it passed Titanic this weekend to become the 7th highest grossing film domestically of all time. And if you want to know what the rest of the list is, it's The Force Awakens, Endgame, No Way Home, Avatar, Black Panther, and Avengers Infinity War. Like these absolutely huge franchise blockbusters, Marvel and Star Wars mainly dominating the list. So the fact that Top Gun Maverick, a sequel from a movie from the 80s, was able to become number 7th on this list is crazy. Just continues to crush it and break records. Alright, so that's it for the box office this weekend. No major releases coming out next week. August is looking a little bit dry, so nothing to talk about there. Let me know what you guys think of Bullet Train's opening weekend down in the comment section below. Do you think it's a success? Do you think it's a disappointment? Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the videos we make here on Crave Network, and I'll be back with the box office next week. See ya.